You talk to your teenager every single day. You ask about school. You show concern about friends. You offer help when they seem stressed. You even try to give advice when they'll listen. But your teenager remains closed off, distant. One word answers, eye rolls. That familiar wall between you and the person you love most. Frustrating, right? Now, here's something that will surprise you. A research team from the University of Tokyo studied 1,500 families across Japan. They discovered something remarkable. Parents who spend just 15 minutes a day using specific connection strategies. They achieve something most Western families struggle with for years. Deep, natural communication with their teenagers. No forcing conversations. No interrogations. No bribes or threats. Just genuine openness from young people who actually want to share their inner world. What's their secret? Is it cultural genetics? Some ancient family wisdom? Or have we been approaching teenage communication completely wrong? Welcome to a deep dive into Japanese family psychology. Today, we're exploring 7 scientifically backed strategies that transform family dynamics. These aren't surface-level tips. They're profound shifts in how we create emotional safety at home. Dr. Shoma Morita from Tokyo University's Family Research Institute explains it perfectly. Western families often mistake quantity of time for quality of connection. Japanese families focus on precision, intentional moments that build trust systematically. A Harvard study comparing 800 American families with 600 Japanese families found striking differences. American parents spent an average of 3.2 hours daily in the same space as their teenagers, but reported feeling disconnected 67% of the time. Japanese parents spent only 45 minutes in focused family time, yet reported deep connection 89% of the time. The difference isn't time. It's technique. These strategies work because they address the core psychological needs of adolescent development, safety, autonomy, respect, understanding. When these needs are met through specific interactions, teenagers naturally become more open. But here's what makes this even more powerful. You don't need to overhaul your entire parenting style. You don't need to become a different person. These are precise adjustments that create massive results. Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. Small adjustments to tension create beautiful harmony. Your family relationships work the same way. Over the next several minutes, I'll break down exactly how to implement each strategy. You'll learn the psychology behind why they work. You'll get to specific examples for different family situations, and you'll walk away with a clear action plan you can start using tonight. Because better family connection isn't just about feeling closer to your teenager. It's about raising a young person who feels genuinely supported, who develops healthy communication skills, who grows into an adult capable of deep, meaningful relationships. Let's dive into the first strategy. Create the ideal emotional temperature, the temperature shift that changes everything. A comprehensive study across 2,000 Japanese households revealed something fascinating about family emotional climate. Homes with the strongest parent-teen relationships maintained what researchers call optimal emotional temperature. Not emotional coldness, not intense heat, but a regulated, calm environment that allows authentic communication to flourish. Dr. Hiroshi Azuma from Keio University explains the neuroscience behind this. When family environments are emotionally volatile, teenage brains activate their threat detection systems, fight, flight, or freeze responses. In this state, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for communication and reasoning, goes offline. Japanese families understand this instinctively. They create what's called WA, harmony through emotional regulation. Parents model the emotional state they want to see in their children. Here's how this looks in practice. Your teenager comes home stressed from school. Instead of immediately asking questions or offering solutions, you first regulate your own emotional temperature. Take 3 deep breaths. Lower your voice slightly. Relax your facial muscles. This isn't about being emotionally distant. It's about being emotionally steady. Your teenager's nervous system will automatically begin to co-regulate with yours. Within minutes, they'll feel safer to share what's really happening. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research on interpersonal neurobiology confirms this. When one person in a relationship maintains emotional regulation, it creates a calming effect on others. Try this tonight. When your teenager enters your space, consciously lower your emotional intensity by 20%. Speak slightly slower. Move more deliberately. Notice how their body language shifts in response. You're not a thermometer, reacting to every emotional change. You're a thermostat, setting the emotional tone of your home. Strategy 2. Provide structure, not softness. Your teenager's spine doesn't want comfort. It wants support. Western parenting often confuses love with permissiveness. We believe that setting boundaries will push our teenagers away. That flexibility equals connection. But research from the Institute of Child Development at the University of Minnesota reveals the opposite. Teenagers and families with clear, consistent structure report feeling more loved and secure than those with permissive boundaries. Dr. Alan Srouf's longitudinal study followed 180 families for 25 years. Children who received authoritative parenting, high warmth combined with high structure, developed the strongest emotional regulation skills and closest family relationships in adulthood. Japanese families call this ame with boundaries. Unconditional love expressed through clear expectations. Here's the difference. Permissive parents say, "Do whatever makes you happy." Authoritative parents say, "I love you too much to let you make choices that hurt your future." Imagine your teenager wants to skip family dinner for the third time this week. A permissive response might be, "Well, if that's what you need." An authoritative response sounds like, "I understand you have other priorities. Family dinner matters to our connection. Let's find a compromise that honors both." The key is explaining the why behind your boundaries. Not arbitrary rules, but protective structures that demonstrate care. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, would call this environmental design for relationships. Small structural changes create massive behavioral improvements. Tonight, identify one area where your family needs clearer structure. Implement it with warmth, but maintain consistency. Your teenager will test it initially, then ultimately feel more secure. Strategy 3. Master the family transition. Ritual hot bath, cool room equals sleep magic. Hot connection, calm space equals communication magic. Japanese families have practiced ofuro for centuries. A hot bath before bed that signals the body to cool down rapidly afterward. This temperature shift triggers natural sleep hormones. The same principle applies to family communication. Intentional transition rituals that shift family members from their individual daily stress into connected, open states. Dr. Barbara Fiese from Syracuse University studied family rituals across 200 households. Families with consistent transition rituals reported 73% stronger emotional bonds and 45% better communication than families without structured connection time. The neuroscience is fascinating. Rituals release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. They also activate the parasympathetic nervous system, moving family members out of stress responses into connection states. Here's how Japanese families implement this. 20 minutes before dinner, all devices go away. Family members physically transition from their separate activities into shared space. Sometimes this includes washing hands together, lighting a candle, or simply sitting in silence for 2 minutes. The ritual doesn't need to be elaborate. It needs to be consistent. Dr. John Gottman's research shows that families with transition rituals experience what he calls emotional turning towards. Family members become naturally more attuned to each other's emotional states. Try this starting tomorrow. Create a 5-minute transition ritual before your main family connection time. This could be before dinner, before bedtime conversations, or when family members arrive home. The key is marking the shift from individual mode to family mode. Your teenager's brain will begin to anticipate and prepare for deeper connection. Strategy 4. Reframe conflict as growth signals. Shift the shame around teenage behavior. Here's a cultural revelation that changes everything. In Japan, adolescent resistance isn't seen as defiance. It's viewed as healthy identity development. Parents expect teenagers to push boundaries. They interpret this as psychological growth, not personal attacks. Contrast this with Western family culture. Teenage resistance equals disrespect. Boundary testing equals bad behavior. We take normal developmental processes personally. Dr. Lawrence Steinberg from Temple University spent 20 years studying adolescent brain development. His research reveals that teenage rebellion isn't moral failure. It's neurological necessity. The adolescent brain is literally rewiring itself. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, won't fully mature until age 25. Meanwhile, the limbic system, driving emotional responses, is hyperactive. This creates what Steinberg calls the teenage paradox. Young people are biologically driven to seek independence, while still needing parental support and guidance. Japanese parents understand this intuitively. When teenagers challenge family rules, parents think, good. They're developing their own identity. When teenagers express strong emotions, parents think, their brain is learning to process complex feelings. This reframe completely changes family dynamics. Instead of taking resistance personally, parents become curious about what their teenager is trying to communicate. Dr. Dan Siegel uses the acronym BRAIN to help parents remember this process. B. Block reactive responses. R. Reflect on what's really happening. A. Attune to your teenager's emotional state. I. Integrate understanding with appropriate response. N. Navigate toward connection. Tonight, when your teenager pushes back against something, pause. Ask yourself, what growth is trying to happen here? Then respond from curiosity, not control. Strategy 5. Master strategic microconnections, another Japanese secret. Strategic relationship building. Western families obsess over long conversations, heart-to-heart talks, deep sharing sessions, but often these feel forced and artificial to teenagers. Japanese families focus on efficiency and timing, brief moments of high-quality connection that happen naturally throughout daily life. Dr. Reed Larson from the University of Illinois studied family interaction patterns across 200 households. He discovered that meaningful connection often happens in 30-90-second windows, brief moments when teenagers spontaneously share something important. The key is recognizing and maximizing these opportunities, not creating artificial connection time, but being fully present when natural openings occur. Japanese parents call this mawo yomu, reading the space between words, sensing when their teenager is ready for connection versus when they need solitude. Here's how this looks practically. Your teenager mentions something about a friend while you're cooking dinner. Instead of continuing to chop vegetables while half listening, you stop. Turn your body toward them. Make eye contact. Give 60 seconds of complete attention. Dr. John Gottman's research confirms this approach. He found that couples and families who turn toward each other during small moments build stronger relationships than those who try to force major conversations. The magic isn't in the length of interaction. It's in the quality of presence. James Clear would call this optimizing the system, not obsessing over the goal. Instead of forcing 8-hour family days and feeling guilty when they don't happen, build capacity for 30 meaningful micro-moments throughout the week. Try this. For 1 week, focus entirely on micro-connections. When your teenager speaks, turn your full attention toward them immediately. Notice how this simple shift affects your relationship. Strategy 6. Create sacred technology. Boundaries tech off means connection on. In most homes, devices have VIP status. Phones at dinner tables, tablets during conversations, screens competing for family attention constantly. But these devices blast what researchers call continuous partial attention throughout family life. No one is ever fully present with anyone else. Japanese families, despite having some of the world's highest technology adoption rates, maintain strict digital boundaries around family connection time. Dr. Sherry Turkle from MIT studied technology's impact on family relationships across 15 years. Her research reveals that the mere presence of devices reduces empathy and emotional attunement between family members. Even when devices aren't actively being used, their presence signals that interruption is possible. Family members unconsciously hold back from deeper sharing. The solution isn't eliminating technology. It's creating sacred analog space where human connection takes priority. Japanese families implement what they call digital sundown. 1 hour before important family time, all devices move to a central charging station. Family members transition into full presence mode. Dr. Catherine Steiner Adair's research with 1,000 families found that children with parents who maintained device boundaries reported feeling more loved and valued than children whose parents multitasked during family time. This isn't about being anti-technology, it's about being pro-relationship. Your new practice. 30 minutes before your main family connection time, create a device-free zone. Place phones in another room. Turn off notifications. Give your teenager the gift of your undivided attention. Remember, your teenager is watching how you prioritize relationships. When you choose presence over digital distraction, you're modeling healthy connection skills they'll carry into their own relationships. Strategy 7. Optimize your communication. Style upgrade your conversation approach. You might not think your communication style matters much, but imagine spending 30 minutes with someone whose words don't match your brain's processing patterns. Frustrating and disconnecting. Most parents communicate to teenagers using adult processing styles. Complex sentences. Multiple ideas per statement. Abstract concepts without concrete examples, but teenage brains process information differently than adult brains. Dr. Frances Jensen's neurological research reveals that adolescent brains excel at concrete, sequential information, but struggle with abstract, multi-layered communication. Japanese parents adjust their communication style to match teenage brain development. They call this kokoro no kotoba, speaking to the heart through words the mind can receive. This means shorter sentences, one idea per statement. Concrete examples before abstract concepts. Questions that help teenagers process their own thoughts rather than statements that tell them what to think. Instead of saying, "You need to be more responsible about your commitments and think about how your choices affect other people," try, "When you miss family dinner, I feel disconnected from you." What would help you remember our family time? The difference is profound. The first approach triggers teenage defensiveness. The second invites teenager collaboration. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research on adolescent brain development confirms this approach. Teenagers respond better to questions that activate their own problem-solving abilities than to statements that position parents as having all the answers. Tonight, practice this shift. Before speaking to your teenager, ask yourself, am I communicating in a way their brain can receive easily? Adjust your style to match their developmental needs. Your teenager isn't being difficult. They're processing information through a brain that's still developing. Meet them where they are. These 7 strategies share something powerful in common. They don't require perfect parents. They require present parents. Dr. Diana Baumrinn's research at UC Berkeley followed 4,000 families over 25 years. She discovered that the most successful parent-teenager relationships shared one consistent element: parents who could regulate their own emotional states while maintaining connection with their adolescents. This is exactly what Japanese family philosophy teaches. The concept of jiritsu, independence through interdependence. Parents who maintain their own emotional center while staying attuned to their teenagers' developmental needs. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. Dr. Daniel Siegel's research reveals that teenage brains are literally under construction. The neural pathways for emotional regulation, decision-making, and social connection are still forming. When parents provide consistent emotional regulation, clear structure, and responsive connection, they're actually helping to build healthy neural pathways in their teenager's developing brain. But here's what makes this approach even more powerful. These strategies work together synergistically. Emotional temperature regulation makes transition rituals more effective. Clear boundaries create safety for micro-connections. Technology boundaries enhance communication quality. You're not just improving individual interactions. You're creating an entire family ecosystem that supports teenage development and parent-child connection. Dr. John Gottman's research on family systems shows that small, consistent changes in interaction patterns create exponential improvements in relationship quality over time. The most common implementation mistake parents make is trying to change everything at once. Japanese philosophy emphasizes kaizen, continuous small improvements over dramatic transformations. Choose one strategy, practice it consistently for 2 weeks. Notice how it affects your family dynamics. Then gradually add another strategy. Remember, your teenager is watching how you handle relationship challenges. When you approach family connection with patience, consistency, and emotional regulation, you're modeling the exact skills they'll need for their own future relationships. This isn't just about improving your current family life. It's about raising a young person who understands how healthy relationships actually work.